Hi there, you lovely lot, and welcome back to Pat's Procrastination, the Pat's Propaganda YouTube show, episode 62. So here we are, folks. Back. Rookie minicamp has started. So we have bringing you a show of, I don't know what just yet, in all fairness, but still. It's very early on Monday morning and I'm very tired and under-caffeinated. But before I bring in my lovely co-host, Judas, I would just like to quickly preface by anybody who's listening or viewing, should I say, who is partakes in a Clear Perspective, a Patriots podcast. I have moved location. I have exited full press coverage, thanking them for their service because it was a great place to begin, but I have migrated on to the Women of Fantasy Football Network. Now, I have not changed my content. I will not be bringing you fantasy football tips, at least not for probably another 20 years. So don't worry about that, folks. It is the same old Clear Perspective, the same old me, the same old craziness, the same old, and the same sort of guests. So I will be bringing back the same show. It is just in a new location. Please keep your eye on my socials, as they say. The new links are all there, as the feed is obviously from over on a different location now. Sorry. So it will be on, it's on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeart. So if you have any of those providers or have an account with them, I believe that they are a free provider anyway. So if you go over to those and search for a Clear Perspective, you will still find me. So you may be already using those and you just need to quickly do a research, as the subscribe will drop off from my old location. And I have had a rebranding as well. So there is a pretty new, nice little design there for you. So that is my news. I am back. A Clear Perspective is back, just in a new location. And we are back. That's Procrastination. Myself, Claire, and as I said, my co-host Judas. So, Judas, how are things with you?
Everything's grand. We now got we haven't got pads on, I guess, but we've got some men on the field now. Rookies are getting their paces set. Football's beginning again. Are you happy?
I am happy now. I'm very happy now. But it's all a process, isn't it? We haven't quite got to football yet, but we now have more things to talk about, more things to cover, technically speaking. Now, initially, I did think that when you said about doing the show today, I was like, have we got anything to talk about? And then, as usual, gave me a couple of topics. So I had a look and then realised there is actually quite a lot to talk about. So I was quite surprised. So you will get a full fun-packed show, folks. It won't just be me going, oh yeah, Chudders, who are you looking at? And then sitting back to drink my cup of tea. But yes, as you said, no pads, jerseys, helmets, running around the field, as you said. But I think they were indoors. I believe the first day anyway, because torrential rain or something. And Mike Vrabel being very physical, as really was probably expected. Josh McDaniels, very loud, apparently, not in a bad way. So it's quite interesting. I suppose it's good to get the band back together in a way. So one thing I did want to touch upon, if we can, before we talk about sort of who we've been looking at, the rookie minicamp, who are interested in seeing that sort of jam, is just the news on how Terrell Williams, the DC, isn't with the team. He's away from the building. He in his presser, he did say that he isn't away from the team. He's in Detroit due to a medical scare following a traumatic situation, and Zach Core is handling a lot of the in-person duties. But he was very adamant to say that he isn't away from the team in that respect. He's still part of the team. And from what I understand, Vrabel rings him or gets in touch with him every single day. So he's still building his relationship with the organization, I guess you could say. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is well with him and he makes, or I want to say, a speedy recovery, because he didn't really go into or allude as to what the situation was, which is fair. You respect people's privacies, and family and health does come first. So it's good that he's dealing with what he needs to deal with, and he's remaining in Detroit and not pushing himself to come to the facility when it's, very against doctors' wishes. So that's really good that he's putting those first. Just hope that he's in a situation that's good and that he can bring himself into the team soon, as in literally. But the one positive that we do have is Vrabel being that defensive guy. So whilst there is an absence, and it is very unfortunate that it is happening to the team now, as they are just like rebuilding, as people like to say, as I'll probably say myself, because of the way that everything is altering and changing with the new coaching staff. It's an unfortunate situation, but it is, as we said, health comes first, family comes first. So glad that he's dealing with that, and just hopes that we get to see him on the sideline soon.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, you hope he has a healthy recovery. From a team perspective, you hope you have a speedy recovery, because it's sadly it's the worst way you really want to start camp, is having one of your new coordinators absent. It's fair to say he's obviously being included in activities. As you say, there's the positive that Vrabel is a defensive guy, so you've still got a leader on that side of the ball. But it's disappointing. You're trying to install a new defense. You're trying to evaluate your new players, and your main guy's not there. The reality is it's not a good start from that perspective. But the positive is it's as early as the bad start could be, so there is plenty of time to rectify it. But no, hope he's back soon, and I hope he's back fully in the picture, and working on that defense, shaping it the way he wants it to play this year.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess then to look at camp, one of the other, there's not really a hell of a lot to break down. We're not looking X's and O's yet, but other takeaways I would say from that week. One disappointment, I would say, is Henderson. What is believed to be contract negotiations. Probably he wants his contract fully guaranteed, and maybe the Patriots are slightly, or rather paid up front. The way that's going to get balanced out is still being negotiated. So it's a shame he wasn't out there practicing. We're told it isn't a major concern. I'll be happier when that's sorted, I guess.
Yeah. Agreed. I have no further comments on that, because there isn't anything. It's just like, it's another unfortunate. We can't do a lot about it, and just hope that they rectify the situation and it doesn't create any further ripples. Because I think that's the one thing that this team needs is, and I think Vrabel might have even said, preface it's on, obviously he didn't use these words, but no drama. They don't want situations that are bringing drama to the team. Those kind of, I don't want to say divas, but what encompasses those problems that are brought into the situation. So
you want all the talking points to be on the field. You don't want off-field distractions. The New England press is renowned for being tough on situations, on players, on coaches, on teams. You don't want to give them any opportunity to be looking for disharmony, for sowing seeds of doubt or anything into anything, as well as the national media. But more locally, it's probably going to have an impact on fans and players if they are reviewing. Yeah, you want to get off to a good start. There was concern last year when Gerard Mayer had the option to start camp early because he was a new head coach, but he opted not to, and it was a bit of a why are we not taking the most of all our opportunities here? And yet again, you just want to hit the ground running. You want to hit everything as hard as you can. You want to be really dominating, taking every opportunity you have. And it's a disappointment that this is now a couple of elements. It's not a severe worry, but it's just a couple of elements that could have been better than maybe they are.
I suppose the point to make is, obviously we focus on the Patriots. That's what we bring you, Patriots content, and the majority of the people that watch this are Patriots fans, and that's what they're mainly interested in. So, but it's not to say there's plenty of things happening to plenty of teams around the league. Nobody's commencement to their season will be flawless with fantastic wonderfulness and no highs or lows. So it's just, you've got to take it with the good with the bad, or the bad with the good, because it's going to happen, because life isn't perfect and all that sort of thing. So let's not dwell on what isn't great. Let's dwell on what's fantastic, shall we? And one of the things that I would like to say is fantastic, if you don't mind me starting with this, is Will Campbell taking every rep at left tackle.
No, I'd fully agree. It's good to see that that's where he's standing. It's what I was expecting. If they'd have rolled him out and he was playing half the snaps at guard, I would have been worried from the beat that they had already had concerns over the decision they've made.
Exactly.
Obviously, he's fighting against air relatively at the moment. I know there's some fun pictures of
Come
him
on, we're
going up
bringing
against
the
Vrabel, but
positive.
then it's not it's not the really challenging start that he's obviously going to have when he puts the pads on.
No,
But no, it's good to see.
but
And I think later on as we get through the year, as you've said, we're maybe a little too early, but we can start looking at how is that front five really going to shape up, because Wilson is going to be an interesting anomaly in there where people believe he certainly has the mobility, at least, to be in that front five, the starting five, whether that's at centre, whether that's potentially even at guard when he still learns that position. City So probably on the outside looking in, but Cole Strange, is he going to have a comeback year? They've obviously picked up Schweitzer as well. Robinson, is he going to have a go? Even potentially even Wallace, which I doubt it. But no, there's some interesting options at those guard positions. It'll be good to see how that plays out over the summer now. Who's going to win all those jobs? The really, really intriguing element I find on the back of the draft, really, is that they took Bryant with their 7th round pick, I believe it was. And personally, I had him as maybe an outsider, as maybe almost a 5th tackle. Wasn't necessarily guaranteeing him even a roster spot. Jack Conley out of Boston College seems, from all the reporting, more likely to be getting a roster spot at the moment, having been a UDFA, than Bryant, who was technically a draft pick. Because of his versatility, Conley can play pretty much all over the line. It's offering a lot of versatility there as backup. So I'm very interested to see how the front five shapes itself. You probably could pencil in 3 of those for who we know they're going to be. To be honest, you could probably pencil in 4 of them. It's a case of whether Wilson starts a centre or maybe is even at guard. I guess we'll see. But how the whole room shapes up, they've got some bodies there. Who's going to be the backup tackles? Who's going to be the backup guards? I'm very interested to see how the O-line battle plays out this camp. And there's even the potential that if they think after a few assessments that, let's say, for example, that they want to make sure Wilson is only taking snaps at centre, and so Bradbury's going to start because they think, he's probably the day one starter ahead of Wilson, but Wilson, we're going to work on your game. We don't want you playing guard because we don't want you, learning any habits that aren't going to be great for a centre. And then they think, okay, we've still got a problem at guard. Potentially, Patriots might tap in, looking elsewhere. Could be trade, could be free agency. It's going to be interesting to see how that line plays out. But I know we're very, very early on that, and I don't want to get into that too much, I guess. Are there any other or any other positions, should I say, around the team that you're interested to see in the camp battles in the coming weeks?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I've put them probably down as practice squadders, but it's looking, it could be very, very different. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Kelsa Priest, he's talking about the Titans. But it's because what they've done in regards to undrafted free agents and stuff like that, how they picked up several tight ends. And there's also several what are looking like fallbacks on the roster as well. I've seen some talk, it may not be media is in full hardcore media. It may just be some speculation between NFL chatter that Bell could possibly move to fullback, but I don't see that myself. That's definitely something that I'm not predicting, if you like. So I'm interested to see what they do when it comes to tight end. Obviously, there's the tight end enthusiast of me that would anyway, but this kind of curiosity is coming from what they have sort of done with the UDFAs and the sort of guys that they've picked up, the particular skill set players that they have picked up. And I know that you wanted to mention, because there's been another, again, it's just like NFL rumors, speculation in regards to Michael Mayer and Cole Kmet. Would you trade for these guys? It feels like what they have done in regards to Udfers and stuff, and the way that they've signed, they've got Hunter and they've got Hooper for another couple of years. It doesn't really look to me necessarily if they get one of these two guys, maybe because the price would be a bit high. They've picked up some UDFAs and stuff like that. So it might be that those are the guys that they're looking to mould more so into the future. I don't know. What's your opinion?
That's interesting, because so I guess how much is too much? I guess what would you be willing to give up? Do you think for Mayer or for Komet, because they're obviously NFL caliber?
Yeah, of course.
Tight ends. They're not elite. I'm not pretending they are. Probably Mayer has got, in my opinion, a bigger upside, bigger ceiling maybe than Komet, but maybe Komet's got a higher floor based on their productivity in the league so far.
Well, this was the thing, because Mayer was, I don't remember if he was a first round draft pick now.
I think he was, yeah.
A few years ago now. I know he was taken by the Raiders, but yeah, he was. And he was always pegged as a first rounder. I remember watching Komet at the Combine and being quite interested, because he's a very traditional inline sort of tight end who's developed a little bit. And I do find that interesting. The thing for me with regards to Komet isn't so much, it's twofold. Where would he necessarily fit in? Because would he be taking the role of one of the two guys that we've already got? He isn't sort of a brand new guy either himself. And I hate to say that like 26 isn't young, because obviously it is. But when we're talking about the realms of football, he's been in the league for 5 years. So he was drafted in 2020. So are we looking at this player's end of career? We've already got 2 of those. Do we really want 3 of them? And that's got nothing against Komet at all. I really like him as a tight end. So if you were to say, oh, Cole Komet, good tight end, what do you think? Oh, yeah, great. But I'm just not sure if I see where he fits in. Mayer is a little bit different because he's younger. He's got more versatility. He could still be your tight end of the future. So he does replace Hunter or Hooper in a year or 2 time. However, by then he's 25. He's 5 years into his career. Is he going to be dynamic enough to be that? Possibly. I'm not knocking it, because like I said, he's a round one guy, but he hasn't. He was out for several weeks with a personal situation, so he hasn't had the sort of consistency that you'd want when you're looking at maybe trading to get the guy who you would thought was a top, an elite, if you like. And just to move on one more time before you take it away from Titans and I don't get to talk about it ever again. CJ from Alabama, who they got in as an undrafted free agent.
Dupree.
Yes. From what? Sorry, CJ. We know each other. No, I'm joking. Anyway. I understand that from the rookie minicamp that there was a lot of one-on-one. He's had a lot of work done. And that's interesting, because it's one of those, are they investing a lot in him, or does he need a lot of coaching? You don't know from standing over where we are to know what the answer to that is. However, if it's because they're investing him in, and I know that he was someone who was actually sort of pegged to go earlier to be drafted. He was put down as to be drafted. So it's interesting that they've got this UDFA and that may have a high floor value, really high ceiling value, that too. So I'm sort of interested that they've got him in there. If they're looking at investing time into the likes of him, and I know James White has been said to say that Brock Lampy from NIU, fullback of the future. If they've got these 2 guys in that they're working on, I don't really see where Mayer or Komet slots in exactly, unless you're compromising one of the 2 guys that you've already signed in Hunter and Hooper. So this whole scenario obviously interests me anyway, as a tight end enthusiast. How can it not? As a separate Patriots fan, trying not to be too tight ended enthusiastic, it's an interesting situation to see what McDaniels is doing with the position.
No, okay, you finished. So on Dupree, I'd say my expectation is, there's a lot of coaching points. There's a reason you went to UDFA. That they're going to need to invest time into improving him. The question will be, how quickly does he pick that up? How does he take learning points? Is he able to stop making any same mistakes? How good a learner is he? That's what will ultimately answer whether he has a future in the NFL, let alone with the Patriots. Because you expect these later guys, they have flaws. All of the players are going to have flaws. It's how coachable are you? And if he picks it up quickly, then potentially he's got some high upside. One question I was going to have for you quickly. Mayer, 2 years ago, how high, do you remember how high you were on him in the draft then? Did you want him or not want him?
Yeah. I would have wanted him. I knew we weren't going to get him because of the other needs and things like that. So it's the same old blinking story, isn't it? I knew we weren't going to get the tight end because of all the other needs that have to come first and all this kind of jazz. I'm not going to be salty and bitter about at all. So I was I was high on him and I was interested to see. The situation that I have is you look at these guys and they're really good at the combine, really good at the draft and stuff like this, and then you just run out of time to follow their career path with other teams. So when obviously they're not a Patriot, I've got to make sure I'm really watching obviously Raiders games, and whilst I know that we play them, it isn't something that I have a lot of time to spend time doing. So he did fall off my radar a little bit, but I know that he's been out as well. So that's been unfortunate for him. I hope he's doing okay. So, but yes, it's a short answer with a long one is I was interested in him at the draft. I was high on him. However, I knew we weren't going to get him is probably all I should have said then.
So would you give up a early day 3 pick for him next year?
Would I give up an early?
Say a 4th rounder.
Ooh.
5th rounder.
See, the emotional side of me probably would, because he was good. The logical side of me looking, as I said, at this team is I don't know if it would be a waste because of what they're doing right now with what they've got. That's all.
The counter on this, I guess, was going to be, and I don't think this is the sort of way it would play out, but let's say, for example, he ended up going to the Bills for a 7th round pick. Would you look at that and go, I'd have given up more than that to get him? I can't believe that talent has gone there. So I think I'm with you. Probably,
but you picked the wrong team.
No, I deliberately picked that team to rattle your cage. But that kind of be my, if you went to, I don't know, 49ers or something, you'd have less concern about it. The likelihood is that's going to impact the Patriots less. I deliberately picked a team in a low pick because you'd be looking, hang on, I want him. Can't believe that's happening again.
I want that toy. How dare you give it to them?
Exactly. No, I'm interested to see how the Titan room plays out because, like you say, it includes fullbacks in there. Also, I'm kind of grouping it with the running backs. And in my initial 53, I essentially had 8 players over running backs and tight ends that I thought could make the roster. And that's putting the fullback in the tight end grouping. So it was essentially 3 tight ends and a fullback and then 4 running backs. Right. I don't know whether they need 8 players at those 2 positions. 7 feels a more comfortable number, but I don't know. There was 8 guys. I thought 8 guys fit. It seemed to fit. It'd be interesting to see how those camp battles play out. Like you say, how Dupree develops, assuming he does develop. If he doesn't, chance he's not making the 53. Like you say, Bell, probably, if he's going to have a future on this roster as a fullback. Is he going to win that job? Possibly not. But they've got an opportunity. As Vrabel's always said, the opportunity's there. It's how you take it, how you grasp it. So the next question is going to have for you then, Claire, is looking at the roster as a whole, where do you think now is the biggest hole in the Patriots roster? I know we don't have a draft tomorrow, but if we were drafting tomorrow, or you could even say, as we look at potential free agents that could become available, or maybe some trades that might show their face, where do you think, if any, you could turn around and say, no, I don't think there's any holes. Where do you think the biggest areas of need, the biggest holes potentially are on the roster?
See, the one thing is you'd say there's 2 positions that I'd still have about, but it's now more to do with, some of it is to do with depth. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the show in regards to the offensive line, we don't really know where everybody's going to slot in and where everybody's going to be successful. So it sort of feels like it's a bit too early to, almost too early to say, because we don't really know what we've got. But O-line is a question. I wouldn't say a concern. It's a question. There's a question holding over it, like you talked about, really. And the wide receiver situation, they've got the numbers. What are we transitioning into with regards to skill set? Because nothing against Stephon Diggs, because I've warmed up to that situation now. He's obviously not going to be a literally a week one starter because of injury, or he may not be. It's been trending differently, but you never know. So I don't know what you would say if you were to look at the wide receiver room. They've got a lot of them, and some cuts are going to have to be done, I would imagine. It's just if they've got the right ones again. It's like the O-line. We've got a lot now. We've got a lot of bodies that we've got a bit more confidence in than maybe we did last season. Some of them are rookies, so the confidence is more just an opinion from what you've read/seen rather than in the actual genuine article. So we will. It's we will have to see what's there, but I can't say I'm concerned with really anything. I'm interested and focused more on those. Maybe there's a question more on those particular departments, if you like. But when it comes to looking at, say, like the agency market, and it's like, who do you still want to pick up? Is there still somebody out there that you think that they have to have? No, I'm good. I want to see how this plays out now. I have confidence in Vrabel and what they have done. It may be misplaced, granted, it's only opinions at this point, but yeah, of what they've done. My one concern, I've just thought of one, if you want one, is if the long snapper's going to be any good. Because they got rid of
you can't go back to Cardona now.
No, because he's don't. I don't want to cry on camera. It's not good. The Finns.
At least you get to watch him twice a year. Yeah.
You're not funny. You really aren't funny, to be honest with you. So I'm putting my devastation aside. I'm sad that Cardona's gone to the Finns. Yeah, the long snapper better be good, else me and Vrabes have got some issue. Big issues.
Okay. So, to give my view, I still think the Patriots are missing a number one wide receiver. I think Diggs, like you say, when he's available, will be good. I have high hopes for Williams, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of that battle plays out for the receiver positions. But a true stud, or stud, as Fitzy says on your show, wide receiver is probably something they're still missing. A sneaky need or a sneaky depth concern potentially I have is at cornerback. Gonzo and Davis, I have high hopes in. I want them. That's with the caveat of them staying fit as well. Jones and Austin, I think, can be bit part players, but I have questions over them. And in all honesty, when I was putting my 53 together, there was those four, and then after that, I wasn't really sure where we were going, whether we were going to look to have 5-6 corners on the roster or not, because everyone left. Mine are Bolden, Dial, James. I'm not sure I have massive confidence in them. So potentially down the line, I'm not saying that's a hole that necessarily needs to be addressed now, but as we are at the moment, next season, I think that could be potentially an area where the Patriots do need to tap into a bit more. Obviously, they lost Jonathan Jones in the summer. There's mixed views on that loss to the roster. Some who liked him thought he was good, but he was never great. So, are you truly losing a hell of a lot there? So, I don't know. Cornerback is one that I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I think those are the two positions that I have need.
Okay, before we wrap up, because we are running out of time, I have two questions for you then. Firstly,
excellent. I've got some more for you as well, the short ones. Don't worry.
Time, I'm afraid. In regards to cornerback, is there anyone that is available externally that you would be interested in now? Or is it a case of you're just concerned with what they've got, but are waiting to see how it pans out?
I think, and I hope I'm right in saying this, but I might be wrong. I think someone like Gilmore is still available. I don't think he signed a contract with anyone this year. I might be wrong on that.
No, last I
Apologies
heard, he
if I
was
am
available.
But a move like that, I think, would really intrigue me. And I know I said exactly the same last off season, that he's a veteran. He obviously knows his way around New England. I'm not sure what. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what relationships he had with the previous sort of regimes, because even last year, even he had issues with Mayo, and then he's gone now. So this is a whole fresh coaching setup. If there was any beef there, I don't know that there was. Him coming in as a veteran to really help fine tune Gonzo, who I'm not saying he needs it, but just, I don't know. I'd be intrigued by a move like that. I would love. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen.
Can I
go on.
interject with, I don't mean to sound negative, because I'm not. Vrabel has gotten rid of pretty much everybody from the past. I'm not too certain he's going to do it now because I've put this out there. I'm not too certain that Gilmore is the kind of player he may have also cut had he still been here because of his history. Now, I'm not saying that Vrabel just doesn't want anybody there. I'm not saying it's this big emotional thing. I'm just releasing Cardona just seemed like he just is cleaning house to a degree. And I don't know if having done that sort of spring cleaning that he's done of old players to bring another one back, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
My 2 cents on that one.
I know what you mean. He's 4 years removed from the Patriots. In fact, oh no, it's just news. There's speculation he could be about to sign for the Bengals. It looks like anyway. But I know what you mean. He's flushed house of a lot of the old school guys. I guess with a bit of removal, I don't think that'll play. It's also
I get
kind of. It's also kind of a statement. I think what he was doing. I don't think he was necessarily that down on Cardona. For example, I think he wanted to flush out some of that old players to bring in his own players. So I think if he brought in someone like Gilmore, it would be him saying, I'm bringing in the guy I want. He's here because I want him, not because
that's fair.
He's left over or he's still under contract. I'm bringing him here because I want him here. And so there's a slight difference, but I do understand what you're saying. Did you have another question then before I ask mine?
I did, but I've forgotten it. So.
Okay, so I'll quickly ask you then. Jules in the Hall of Fame. Did you love that? Is that who you'd picked? I don't think we've discussed that since.
I wasn't unhappy that he went in. I love Jules. He's one of my all-time favorites. I know that there's a lot of sort of discourse because maybe Vinatieri should have gone in before him, and sort of and that kind of thing with the history. Just talking about it in a vacuum of Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, love it. I love Jules. He's possibly my second favorite Patriot, in all fairness. Yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe my second favorite, possibly third.
Wow. Yeah. After Izzo.
That was the contemplation in my head, was how far am I going with this one?
I said that as a joke, but wow. Okay. No, I think.
Yeah, no, Jules is probably my second favorite Patriot.
Jules was always going to go in to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. He is easily a Hall of Famer for the Patriots. I think he may have an outside shot at Canton. It's going to be tough. He possibly won't get there. But after his one team, such longevity, Super Bowl MVP, he's won a few rings. There is a chance he could, but he was always locked on to get into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Order of sequence, personally, I voted Vinatieri. I would love Vinatieri to go first. Vinatieri will go in. What a problem to have. We have so many Hall of Famers that are genuinely worthy of getting in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion about the method that the Patriots have to get their guys in. But these are people who are genuinely Hall of Fame worthy. So, and next year we're going to celebrate Gronk because he's for sure going to win it next year.
Patriot. He's my second favorite Patriot.
Okay, I thought Jules was a second ago. Anyway,
no, Jules was my second favorite Patriot. That's what I'm saying.
So the last two questions, and these are way too early, but they were released last week. The early betting odds on next season. The over/under is 7.5 wins for the Patriots. So you're taking the over, okay? And finish second in the division. How do you feel about those?
Yeah.
Over and yes, we're going second.
Yeah.
So you're very confident of those. How confident are you playoffs them?
Yeah.
Is that a clear yep or a genuine yep?
The clear yep.
Okay.
Because I don't know. It's so soon. We have no idea. It's so soon. But yes, that's a clear will it into positivity type. Yeah, in all fairness. The over 7 is a logical, yes, I believe this from what we've seen. And the second in division, I'm still on that. The playoffs is more of a, will it into existence, being a bit of a Homer fan, to be honest with you. And before we run out of time, then very quickly, without a massive explanation, where are you on this? The over/under of 7.
I want to be positive, and so I think that's a good line. I'm really pleased with the roster setup they have. I'm really pleased with the coaching changes they've made. I think we have a friendly schedule next year. Obviously, that gets released on Wednesday, the actual order of games, I guess. But certainly the teams that we're up against, I think, is good for the number of wins. Where I am holding back, more resident maybe than you are to predict lots of success, is because it's all fresh, it's all new.
Of course.
Are we actually going to be able to hit the ground running? We don't know who those teams are we're going to play. But all these changes, like I said last time we recorded, half this roster is going to be new, whether that's UDFAs, draft picks, free agency, trades. Half this roster is going to be new. The coaching stuff is going to be nearly completely new.
Yeah.
I think it's all positive for the Patriots, but are you really going to be able to hit the ground running day one and make that a success? It would be phenomenal if you are. But I'm slightly cautious and willing to give more time than my expectations. If I'm a betting man, I would say yes, more than 7.5, but not much more. I think 8 is about 8, 9 is realistically what my expectations are for this team. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they could be in the conversation for quite a while through the season, in that playoff hunt, in the bubble, the graphics that come up, but I don't have expectations we're going to be in the playoffs. And certainly, even if we are, that we're actually going to be any meaningful force in them. We're just going to be
that's fair.
one of those extras who've got an away game that first wildcard weekend. Second in division, I think it's a possibility. I think a lot of people are quite low on the Finns this year. I understand why, given the troubles they've had. The thought is that possibly Daniels is on the hot seat, depending on how the season goes. And also, a lot of people are out on tour now. Concussions and everything aside, even when he's fit and healthy, can he really fire? Trouble is, he beats us 2 times a year for the past few years, which is a shame.
We did.
I think they're going to be the ones to beat for that second spot in the division. I think the Patriots can finish better than the Jets again. I don't know. I can really see that being equal on wins almost, and it coming down to some form of tiebreaker there. So I'm not as confident on second division, but I'm okay with that. That's not because I'm down on the team. I think we're going in the right direction. It's just setting expectations for the first season with a new regime, with new players. And you've got to bear in mind how low this starting point is.
Yes.
4-13 the last 2 seasons. You know, realistically, we're looking to add those wins together and then add more on top of that to be looking to be second division, to be a playoff team. It's got to be serious, massive improvement. The biggest improvement in the league to actually be achieving those sorts of things. And it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. The likelihood is it probably won't be as astronomical as that, as much as I'd love it to be. A dose of realism, maybe. Got your positivity and maybe a dose of realism. I don't know.
Well, this is the quick point I wanted to make when you said is that the Claire answer or the more realistic answer, because I know you will bring the logical aspect to it. I do let my positivity side run free. I just release her and let her be as she wants to be as a fan. Whereas if you then ground me and say, well, what do you really think? Well, I do still believe that it's over 7 wins. I'm still quite confident in second in the division. The playoffs, really, if I'm being realistic, it's maybe because it looks like it appears that they've made such significant improvements that you would expect such significant improvement. Now, it's not a guarantee, and to be realistic, playoffs is probably a bit of a push. However, because we've got your logical side to balance it out, it's like, you know what? Yeah, just screw it. I'm just gonna be sunshiny positive. Yeah, let's just go LFG baby and things like this. So that's the whole point of this show, really.
Are you going to do an emergency podcast of a Claire perspective on your new channel if the Patriots sign Michael Mayer then in the coming weeks?
Possibly. You may see it somewhere, either here on Pat's Procrastination or, as my colleague said, over on Women of Fantasy Football Network, which is where you will find a Claire Perspective of Patriots podcast. I will just quickly end with that then. Yes, my podcast has moved. It's still in most of the podcasty places. It's still the same A Claire Perspective of Patriots podcast. It's just got a fresh new look and it's just on a new location. I got headhunted and stolen and traded, if you like, whatever you really want to term it. But yeah, over on the Women of Fantasy Football Network. Again, I'm not doing fantasy football. I'm just part of a new crew. So please do make sure you are still looking for that if you are a partaker in A Claire Perspective. And if you aren't, why not? It's fun. But I think that wraps it up for Pat's Procrastination, episode 62. Bit of rookie minicamp and roster extras. Chidders, do you believe so? Are we done?
Yep.
We're done. Okay, that's it. He says we're done, so we're done. So we will be back as usual. Get subscribing so you get your notifications. Keep your eyes on the socials. And as always, go Pats.
LFG.